I really like it. I can definitely taste the heat and taste a little hint of the lime and taste the spices in it. And what really surprises me is I can taste the sweetness of the tomatillos because there was no sugar put in this. I'm glad that you're watching our video today. My project for today is to make some salsa verde, and I'm actually going to can it. If you follow my vlog, you know this is the first year I've ever raised tomatillos. Of course, raising things under shade, they're not going to get as big as they would if they were out in an open field garden, but I still grow what I can grow based on where I live. So my tomatillos are a little bit small, but it's going to work. So let's get started with the vlog. And if this turns out, you'll see it. If it doesn't turn out, you won't see it. I can guarantee you that. This is the ingredients for making my salsa verde. These are often called husk tomatoes, but of course they're not tomatoes at all. Here I have one where I've already pulled the husk off, and you can see it has a similarity, but it's more like a ground cherry than it is a tomato. I'll be using cilantro, and no, I didn't raise that. Cilantro is a cold weather crop, and I'll just be planting that later this month. I have here, of course, some limes because I'm going to need some lime juice, and we'll use my mother's old lemon juicer to get the juice out of those limes. I'm going to need several cloves of garlic, a couple of onions here. I'm going to need quite a bit of onion in this. And of course, for heat, we're going to use some jalapenos. As for spices, we will be using cumin, smoked paprika, and Himalayan pink salt. Now we use the pink salt because it does not have the anti-clumping agent in there. In other words, there is an ingredient in a lot of salts to keep it from sticking together. And of course, I have my distilled vinegar. I'll be putting some of that in. Now, towards the end of this video, I will actually have a written recipe for this. And for those that know me, I tend to take several recipes, look over them, make sure I've got the basics down, and then I'll use from each one what I really want to based on my taste. I know what I like, and I want this to be something that I will enjoy. As often happens when you're creating a vlog, you think you've hit the record button and perhaps you double tapped it, you turned it on and turned it off. So now I'm going to tell you what you're missing here. You'll see on the screen, I've got a picture of my tray of tomatillos. After I had pulled the husk off of the tomatillos, I put them in the sink and I washed them. Then I took them out, cut them in half. I found it was easier to cut them in half first and then cut the little core out and put them over into a bowl. Once I was done with all of them, I then laid them on a slightly oiled cooking sheet. I used olive oil on aluminum foil and then laid those on it and placed them in the oven under broil on high. You really want to get just a little bit of char on these. You want them to get to the point that the liquid is actually being released onto the baking pan and you see the brown. And if you'll notice in this picture with a little silly red arrow pointing to the tomatillos, most of them have a little bit of browning on top of them. The peppers and the onions have been finely chopped. My next step here is to take this and transfer it over into this pot. And I know that's too large a pot, but it's the best stainless steel pot I've got for canning. Now we're adding these chopped jalapeno peppers and our chopped onions over into our pot. I needed 4 cloves of garlic for each batch, and I estimate I have about a batch and 2/3. So I'm going to go ahead and add a total of 2, 4, 6, 7 cloves, but a couple of these cloves are a little bit small. I'm going to use my garlic press here to finely mince this garlic, and I find that a garlic press works really great. I can just put that garlic right in there, flip it over, and all the juice from the garlic's going in there, plus the garlic is going in, and it is pretty finely chopped. Any big pieces, I just push back in there. I've got more garlic to load here. And I'll have one more after this one. And all I'm doing is taking my knife and just cutting that off. I've washed my lemons. It's time to squeeze the juice out of them. I also rinsed Mama's old lemon juicer. I'm going to need, for each batch, 3 tablespoons. So I'm really going to need a tablespoon and about 3/4 of a tablespoon, or 2/3. All I'm doing here now is just pulsing this till I get everything in small pieces. I have a few of the raw ones that are larger chunks, but I believe that right there is where I'm going to stop. This now goes over into our pot. I have everything now in my pot except for my spices, and it's time to put those in. I'm putting in my cumin, and I will give the amounts in the directions. It'll be for a single batch, not a batch and 2/3. I've got my smoked paprika. I've got my pink Himalayan salt. And I've got my lime juice. All of this is going in. We're going to bring this to a rolling boil and then turn it down on simmer. While it's simmering, I'll go ahead and get the boiling water bath ready. And this is why you do your prep work, because when I was adding those other spices, I forgot to add the white vinegar. There we go. It's in there now. I'll stir that up. Now, we're not going to put this in till it's nearly at the end of the cooking process, and this is the chopped cilantro. My salsa has come to a good rolling boil. I turned it down. I don't want it to stick. Of course, because of the little black pieces, it might already look like it's stick, but I don't want to put any more black in there, trust me. I don't want any more burnt skins on it. So I'll just continue stirring it. I do need to keep it on simmer now for 15 minutes. So I'm going to set the timer. When the timer goes off, it'll be time to start filling the jars. Okay, we have 5 minutes left on our timer, and that's when I'm supposed to add the cilantro. So all of my chopped cilantro is added, and now I'm just stirring that in. In 5 minutes, that alarm will go off, and it's going to be time to put this in the jars and put it over into the boiling water bath that I have prepared. Okay, I have my clean lids ready. I've got my bartender's mat out. That just helps to keep from getting anything down in that crack there. Also, it cushions the jars. And I have my lids. Now, they're just in warm water. They do not need to boil. I did wash them per the instructions on the box. Our time is up, and our timer is beeping. It's time to fill our jars. As I always do, my clean jars are over here in my boiling water bath, and as you can see all of that steam coming off of it, I do that to keep them clean. Now, I'm going to stick my funnel down in there one more time in that very hot scalding water. It just sterilizes it. I'm going to do the exact same thing on my dipper. I want it sterilized as well. Okay, let's fill our first jar. I'm putting vinegar on a clean cloth. Cleaning off that jar because there was residue on there. And I don't want this stuff, after all of this work, to go bad simply because I didn't clean my jar top. And if there's residue, it very possibly might not seal. We put this lid on here just finger tight. Yeah, it's finger tight. Okay guys, I'll be back with you when I get all of these jars filled. My boiling water bath has come to a good rolling boil. So I want to put my timer, and I want to, ooh, that popped out on me. I want to set that for 15 minutes. Now, when that alarm goes off, I'll turn the heat off, and I'll let the jars set in the water for just a little while, and then I'll move them over onto a towel on the counter where they'll set for 24 hours. Tighten my lid down just a little bit and set it down there. I'm putting enough space between these jars, I need to get it away from that violet, so that they can cool down fast. As you can see here, I ended up with 9½ pints, and I've got enough in this jar here. I didn't try to seal it, and there went one popping and sealing already. I'm gonna try this. All right, it's time for me to try this Salsa Verde and let you know what I think about it. I absolutely love tortilla chips served with Salsa Verde. I really like it. I can definitely taste the heat, and taste a little hint of the lime, and taste the spices in it. And what really surprises me is I can taste the sweetness of the tomatillos because there was no sugar put in this. It's really, really good. Remember guys, the recipe for this follows this video. Thank you for watching.